The encounter in the jungle. The jungle was alive with whispers. Leaves moved though no wind touched them. Strange calls echoed in the distance, low growls, sudden shrieks, the rustle of unseen creatures hunting in the shadows. Thick trees rose like towers, their roots twisting across the wet ground, and beams of sunlight struggled to break through the heavy canopy. Through this wild world moved a lone human soldier. His boots sank into mud as he pushed branches aside, his uniform torn from days of travel. Sweat ran down his face, but his eyes stayed sharp. He was separated from his unit, stranded on this alien planet after an ambush in orbit. Now, deep in the unknown jungle, every step was a risk. He carried his weapon ready, but he also carried something else: determination. He would not die here. He would find a way back. Then, he heard it. A sound unlike the growls of beasts or the cries of birds. It was soft, shaky. A whimper. The soldier froze, crouched low, and listened. The sound came again. A faint, frightened breath almost hidden in the murmur of the jungle stream. Carefully, he followed the sound, his boots sinking into shallow water as he stepped into a small clearing where sunlight spilled through. There, kneeling in the stream, was a girl. She was not human. Her skin was deep blue, smooth and glowing faintly under the light. Her hair, dark and tangled, clung to her face. She wore only rough cloth around her body, torn and soaked, as though she had been running for days. Her large golden eyes widened as she saw him, and her whole body shook. She thought she was prey. The soldier lowered his weapon at once. He knew fear when he saw it. Slowly, he raised his hands, palms open, to show he meant no harm. But the girl pressed herself lower in the water, trembling. Her lips moved, whispering words he could not understand. Her people's language was strange to him, but her fear needed no translation. She believed this human had come to devour her, like the beasts of the jungle. The soldier's heart ached at the sight. He remembered villages on distant worlds where children hid from the sound of war. He remembered broken faces and trembling hands. This girl's fear was the same. Gently, he spoke, his voice calm. "I won't hurt you." Of course, she did not understand his words, but she understood his tone. He placed his weapon on the ground and stepped back, giving her space. For a long moment, nothing moved. Only the sound of the stream filled the air. The girl stared at him, her chest rising and falling quickly, her hands clenched in the water. Then slowly her eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in confusion. Why did the human not attack? Why did he not bare his teeth like the beasts? The soldier reached into his pack and pulled out a small pouch. From it, he took a ration bar and broke it in half. He set one piece on a dry rock between them, then sat back. His movements were slow, deliberate, like one might use with a wild animal. The girl's eyes fixed on the food. Hunger burned in her face. Her stomach growled so loudly even the soldier heard it. But still, she did not move. Fear chained her. Minutes passed. The soldier remained still, showing patience. At last the girl crept forward, her thin fingers shaking as she reached for the food. She snatched it and pulled back quickly, as though expecting him to strike. He did not move. He only watched as she sniffed the strange bar, then bit into it. Her eyes widened. It was strange, but it was food. Safe food. She ate in small bites, never taking her eyes off him. Something shifted in that moment. Fear did not vanish, but curiosity grew beside it. The soldier drank from his canteen and offered it. Again the girl hesitated, but thirst was stronger than doubt. She reached, her fingers brushing his hand for the briefest instant. The touch was quick, but in it was the spark of something new. Trust. It was fragile, small as a single flame in the dark. But it was there. The soldier gave a faint smile. The girl did not smile back, not yet, but her trembling slowed. Her golden eyes studied him differently now, not as a monster ready to devour her, but as something she could not yet understand. Behind them, the jungle roared with the cries of predators. Danger still lurked in every shadow. Yet in the clearing, Between human and alien there was a fragile silence. The girl thought she was prey, but the human's desire was not to harm her. It was something else, something far more dangerous than hunger. Fear turns to curiosity. The jungle did not sleep. Every night it came alive with strange sounds, echoes of wings, the growl of unseen beasts, and the distant crash of trees falling, to something too large to imagine. Yet inside a small clearing by the stream, two figures sat across from each other, a human soldier and a blue-skinned alien girl who had once trembled at his presence. The girl no longer crouched in fear, though. Her body was still tense. Her golden eyes followed every movement he made. She watched how he drank from his canteen, how he cut fruit with his knife, how he sat with his back against a tree, calm even in the heart of danger. At first, she believed it was a trick. Humans were said to be ruthless. Stories told among her people described them as predators who killed without mercy, who devoured worlds. Yet the man in front of her was different. He had given her food instead of taking it. He had set down his weapon instead of using it. He had looked at her not as prey, but as if she mattered. She whispered in her language, words too soft for him to understand. "Why are you like this?" The soldier tilted his head slightly, as if sensing her question. He answered in his own tongue, voice steady, almost gentle. She could not understand his words, but the tone was enough. There was no threat, no sharpness, only calm. The girl's fear began to shift into something else, curiosity. When he moved to build a small fire, she crept closer, her eyes wide as sparks danced into the air. She had seen fire before, but the way he controlled it, feeding it, with careful hands was strange to her. He cooked a small strip of meat over the flames and then without hesitation offered it to her. Her hands shook as she took it. She sniffed it, unsure, then tasted. The flavor was warm, rich, unlike anything she had eaten in days of running. She glanced at him again, expecting anger for taking his food, but he only nodded, as if encouraging her. Slowly, she began to sit, closer. The soldier noticed her watching him. He pulled a small device from his pack, something like a scanner. He adjusted its screen, showing her an image of the stars above. She gasped softly. The constellations were familiar yet strange on his display. He pointed at one star, spoke a word she could not understand, then pointed at himself. Human. She tilted her head. Then, hesitantly, she tapped her chest. Her lips formed her name, something soft like wind through reeds. He repeated it clumsily and she laughed, a small, fragile sound that surprised even herself. The laughter echoed in the jungle, strange but bright. It was the first time she had laughed since the war came to her world. As the night deepened, predators prowled at the edge of the clearing. Their red eyes glowed between trees, their growls rumbling like thunder. The girl stiffened in terror, but the human moved with swift precision. He raised his weapon, fired a single shot, and the beast fell. The others scattered into darkness. The girl stared at him not in fear now but in awe. His strength was real, his courage undeniable, yet he did not kill for pleasure. He killed only to protect. When the danger passed, he sat again, his weapon across his lap. The firelight flickered against his tired face. For the first time, she saw not a predator, but a man who carried heavy burdens. His eyes looked far away as though he remembered battles she could not imagine. She leaned closer, whispering again though she knew he would not understand. "You are not like the stories." The soldier glanced at her, his expression unreadable, but in his eyes was something she recognized, loneliness. She thought of her mother, of her people scattered and broken. She thought of the day her world burned and how she had believed she would never be safe again. And now here she was, sitting beside the one she had once feared most. The girl hugged her knees, her golden eyes never leaving him. Curiosity grew, stronger. What did he truly want? Why had he saved her instead of leaving her to die? What desire drove a human into the depths of a hostile jungle? She did not know yet, but she would learn. As dawn broke, sunlight poured through the canopy. The jungle shimmered with life. The soldier rose, checking his gear, ready to move. He looked at her, motioning with his hand for her to follow. Her heart pounded. She could run, she could hide, but instead, she stood and walked toward him. She no longer thought of herself as prey. She thought of herself as a witness, and she was determined to uncover the truth of this human and his dangerous desire. The dangerous desire revealed, the jungle stretched on for days. The soldier and the alien girl moved together side by side through rivers, caves, and endless green shadows. At first she stayed behind him, always watching, always cautious. But, slowly, she began to step closer, no longer trembling with every movement he made. Still, questions burned inside her. Why had he spared her? Why had he given food instead of taking it? Why did he look at her not with hunger, but with something heavier, something she did not understand? One evening, as the sun sank low and painted the jungle in gold, the soldier stopped near ancient stone ruins half buried in vines. Strange symbols glowed faintly across the broken walls. He studied them carefully, running his hand over the carvings, as if they mattered more than the food in his pack or the weapon at his side. The girl tilted her head, curiosity stronger than fear now. She stepped closer and whispered in her own tongue, "What are you looking for?" He glanced at her, then at the carvings, and pulled a small device from his gear. A scanner lit up the stones with soft blue light. She gasped. The device projected, symbols into the air showing patterns, maps, and stars. Her eyes widened. She recognized the markings, old stories from her people, tales the council had forbidden to speak of. She had seen fragments in books, whispered by elders in secret. But here the human read them openly, fearlessly. The soldier tapped one of the stars in the projection and spoke in his language. She could not understand the words, but his tone was sharp, urgent, filled with meaning. He pointed at the ruins, then at her, then back at the stars. She felt her breath catch. Did he need her? That night, as they sat by the fire, the girl tried to piece together what she had seen. Slowly, she spoke in broken words of her own tongue, pointing at the sky. "Council, lie," she said softly, then tapped the carvings. "Truth." The soldier's eyes locked with hers. Slowly, he nodded. She froze, realization striking her heart. This was his desire. It was not her life, not her fear, not even her loyalty. He desired truth. He desired knowledge hidden by the council, knowledge her people carried in silence. It was more dangerous than hunger. If the council discovered what he sought, they would kill him. They would kill her. They would burn entire worlds to keep their lies safe. And yet, he searched anyway. The next morning, they traveled deeper into the ruins. More symbols appeared, more fragments of history long buried. Together, they uncovered pieces of a forgotten story. How the council had enslaved entire species, erased whole truths, and rewritten history to keep their power. Her people had been one of the victims. Humanity, too, had been silenced, mocked, and erased. As she traced the symbols with her fingers, the girl felt tears sting her eyes. She turned to the human. "You, dangerous," she whispered, her voice trembling. But this time it was not fear. It was awe. He looked at her, calm and steady, and for the first time, she saw his desire clearly. He did not come to devour flesh. He came to devour lies. The girl hugged herself, shivering though the air was warm. All her life she had believed humans were predators, but now she saw the truth. The most dangerous predator was not the one who hunted bodies. It was the one who hunted secrets. By nightfall, they returned to the jungle's edge. The fire crackled between them, shadows flickering across their faces. She sat closer than ever before, her golden eyes fixed on him. At last she whispered, "If they find out, they will come for us." The soldier stared into the flames, his jaw tight. Then he answered with a single word, one she understood without translation. "Good." Her eyes widened. He was not afraid. He wanted them to come, because when they came, humanity would rise again. The girl's heart pounded. She was no longer trembling in fear of him. She was trembling because she now stood beside something greater than she could have imagined. The human's desire was not to harm her. It was to change the galaxy. The Council's secret. The ruins whispered with truths the galaxy had long forgotten. Vines curled over stone walls carved with symbols that glowed faintly in the moonlight. The human soldier brushed dust from the markings, his scanner flickering as it captured lines of ancient writing. Beside him, the alien girl stood silent, her golden eyes wide with awe and fear. "These ruins," she whispered in her own tongue, "they should not exist." Her people had been taught for generations that their history was short and unimportant, that the Council had guided them from the beginning. But here, on these stones, were stories far older than the Council itself. Stories of chains, fire, and rebellion. The soldier's eyes were sharp as he studied the carvings. He pointed at a line showing tall figures binding smaller ones with collars of light. He looked at her, then at the stars above. She understood. It was not myth. The Council had enslaved her people long ago, and they had erased it from memory. Her hands trembled as she touched the wall. Memories of whispers from her elders returned. Fragments of songs they were forbidden to sing, tales they were punished for speaking. She had thought them nothing but dreams. But here, the proof was carved in stone. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would they lie?" The soldier did not answer. He did not need to. She already knew lies were power. Control was easier when truth was buried. They moved deeper into the ruins, finding chamber after chamber filled with carvings. Some showed fleets burning worlds. Others showed strange figures with human-like faces standing against impossible odds. One mural stopped her breath. It showed a figure unmistakably human, broad shoulders, strong stance, standing at the front of an army of slaves breaking their chains. The human raised a blade of fire while behind him alien empires crumbled. The girl turned to the soldier, her voice shaking. "You're kind. You were here before." He stared at the mural, silent. His eyes held no surprise. It was as if he had already known. Her heart pounded. She had believed humans were wanderers, predators from the dark. But now she saw the deeper truth. They were not only survivors, they were rebels. Fighters against the Council's cruelty since the beginning. That night, as they sat by their fire, she spoke softly. "The Council will kill us if they learn we found this." The soldier's jaw tightened. He looked at her and said one word, in his own language, slow and heavy. "Good." She shivered. Not from fear, but from realization. His dangerous desire was clear now. He did not want her life. He did not want her submission. He wanted the truth to burn across the galaxy. He wanted the Council exposed. Days later, deep inside another chamber, they found something worse. A tablet sealed in metal, untouched by time. The soldier's scanner hummed as he unlocked it. Lines of code and records spilled into the air, glowing symbols twisting like fire. The girl gasped. She could read fragments. Lists of names entire, species, planets marked as erased. The Council had destroyed worlds. They had not only hidden slavery, they had wiped entire people from existence. Her stomach turned. She pressed her hands to her mouth, trying not to cry. The soldier's eyes hardened as he copied the data into his device. His voice was low, a growl of iron. "This is why," he said, though she understood only the tone. "This is the truth they fear." The girl's fear of him was gone now. What filled her heart was something heavier, a sense of standing on the edge of something unstoppable. When they left the ruins, she walked beside him, her steps strong. She no longer thought of herself as a survivor following a stranger. She was a witness, carrying a secret that could change everything. But the jungle was no longer silent. Drones moved above the trees. Red lights blinked in the night. The Council had noticed. Scouts had been sent. The girl gripped his arm, whispering urgently, "They are coming." The soldier looked at her, then at the stars. His hand tightened on his weapon. His dangerous desire was no longer hidden. He wanted the council to come. He wanted them to see what he carried. The girl swallowed hard. For the first time, she understood why the galaxy feared humans. Not because they devoured flesh, but because they devoured lies. And when lies ended, empires fell. A new alliance. The jungle no longer felt alive with mystery. It felt hunted. Red lights swept between the trees, and the low hum of engines echoed through the night. The council's scouts had arrived, drawn by signals the soldier had unlocked, inside the ruins. The truth had not only been uncovered, it was calling enemies toward them. The alien girl clutched the soldier's arm, her golden eyes wide. "They will kill us," she whispered. The human soldier looked at her calmly, his weapon ready. His face was tired, but his eyes burned with iron. He spoke softly, almost as if to himself. She could not understand the words, but she understood the tone. He would not run. He would not surrender. Drones swept low, beams of red cutting across the undergrowth. The soldier fired once, and the first drone fell in flames. More followed, buzzing like a swarm of wasps. But his aim was steady, his movements sharp. The girl covered her ears as blasts shook the ground. When the smoke cleared, silence returned. The soldier did not celebrate. He knew this was only the beginning. By morning, more scouts came. Armed patrols moved through the jungle with cruel precision. The girl and the soldier hid among ruins, slipping between vines and shadows. Each time danger closed in, he fought, not for himself, but for her. And each time she looked at him with new eyes. Once she had believed she was prey. Now she saw him for what he truly was. A protector, a hunter of lies, a warrior carrying a truth that could destroy the council. When they paused by the stream, she looked at him, her voice trembling but strong. "Why do you fight? Why risk your life for this?" The soldier touched the device strapped to his belt, the one carrying the records of slavery, erased worlds, and betrayal. He tapped it once, then pointed at her. His voice was quiet but heavy. "For them. For you." She swallowed hard, her heart pounding. His desire was dangerous not because it sought flesh, but because it sought justice. Justice for her people. Justice for his. Justice for every voice the council had silenced. That night, her mother found them. The woman emerged from the shadows with other survivors of their clan, their faces worn by years of struggle. When she saw the soldier, her eyes widened in shock, but her daughter spoke quickly, urgently. She told her mother everything, how the human had saved her, how he uncovered the truth, how he carried the council's greatest secret. Her mother listened, silent and pale. Then at last, she looked at the soldier and spoke with a voice heavy with sorrow. "The council will never forgive this. They will burn worlds to keep this hidden. But if what you hold is real, then perhaps it is time to stop hiding." The girl gripped her mother's hand. "We cannot do it alone, but with him, with humans, we can." The soldier studied them both, his expression unreadable. He had never asked for allies. He had never asked for trust. Yet here, among ruins and danger, they offered it. In the days that followed, the survivors joined him. They guided him through the jungle, showing hidden paths and secret places the council could not see. He trained them with patience, teaching them to fight with discipline, to move like shadows. For the first time, their fear turned into strength, and the girl, once trembling in the water, now stood tall with a weapon in her hands, her eyes sharp, her steps steady. She no longer saw herself as prey. She was part of something greater. When the council's forces finally descended in full strength, they did not find a broken colony. They found resistance. Hidden traps lit the forest in fire. Blasts shook the ground. Humans and aliens fought side by side, their voices united in defiance. The battle was brutal, but when dawn came, The council's soldiers were forced to retreat. The truth was alive now, carried not only in the soldier's device but in the hearts of those who fought with him. The galaxy would hear of it. In the ruins, as smoke drifted through the trees, the girl stood beside the soldier. Her mother stood behind her, weary but proud. She looked at him and whispered, "We are not afraid anymore. You have given us something greater than survival. You have given us hope." The soldier met her gaze. His voice was calm, but his words carried weight. Hope is dangerous, but together it is unstoppable. Far beyond the jungle, whispers began to spread across the stars. Traders spoke of a human and an alien clan fighting together. Rumors of ancient secrets returned, stories of chains broken and truths buried. The council tried to silence the whispers, but they spread faster than fire. The galaxy trembled. What began as a rescue in the jungle had become the birth of an alliance. Humanity was no longer alone. And the alien girl who once trembled in fear now stood as a symbol of unity. The soldier's dangerous desire had not been flesh. It had been truth. And truth, once revealed, could never be buried again. This was not the end. It was the beginning.